So I'm in charge of all the dormitories on campus, sir. And I intend to study DS social work. That will better my knowledge and help me to perform better at job, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
That's a good thing. You know, let's still call university things dormitories or hostels. And there's some difference between dormitory and hostel.
And
Maybe
now
we use dormitory.
no, we use in residence hall.
Residence hall. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's a bit for more mature people, so that's good. Well,
Yes,
thanks.
sir.
It's nice meeting you. And things. I used to work until the U.S. government froze the foreign aid. I used to work in the area of foreign aid, managing FISLA projects in Nigeria from 2007 until 2018.
Okay.
Then left. So most of the FISLA centers in Nigeria, south of Kaduna, I helped to establish them and things. And then also the National Obstetric Fistula Centers in Nigeria, 3 of them, I pushed for the establishment and worked hard for them to be established with my team. So that's great. And then I left and went back and came to Washington. From there, I was managing 8 countries, fistula activities in 8 countries, and supporting them, guiding them, and providing things. Before I left Nigeria, I set up a holistic fistula management approach
Yes, sir.
that ensured that the social work became very closely linked with fistula intervention, because you're looking at not just the case fistula, which is clinical, but you're looking at the person, the lady who has fistula, which is a holistic approach, in which case you're looking at the ecosystem surrounding that lady that led her to get fistula in the first place. And also going back to that community, the environment where she got fistula, are we sure the fistula is not going to come back through the relationship that you had, so it's important to see the social aspect of fistula. And I'm glad that become a global phenomenon where globally everybody, WHO, UNFPA, and are all talking about holistic approach to fistula programming, And so we used to use reintegration and rehabilitation approach, which I introduced in Nigeria. Now they changed it to reintegration and social rehabilitation and social reintegration, which is the same thing. So I'm glad that, something that we originated in partnership with the C-ISOWN is now something that is globally accepted and used. So we give God the glory. So I'm glad to be in this class and to help share experiences and guide the new generation of people on relationship between social work and health as a whole, but then also how you apply that into different areas, and so, which include mental health, just hospital systems, and ensuring that government has some kind of linkage approach to use the professionalization of social work as a key to helping solve most of society's problems that we have. So that's a brief introduction of me and my outlook. I live in the US and as a citizen, and also I do a lot of work globally where the opportunities come up. So thank you very much. Yeah. I wonder how many people are in the class. I usually like to ask this question to know how many people are in the class, so that one would know how to apportion time and who to interact with. But I see just 3 of you today signed in. National Bridget, Toyafunke, Omolabake.
We were about 6 at yesterday. We received some lectures.
Okay. So I wonder why they're not here today. But that's okay.
Akande David. Is he online? I can't.
I don't see him.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Do I get the permission of calling him online? He's my colleague as well.
Okay. So why don't you do that? And then we'll wait a bit.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, it's pretty early for me, so I'm trying to drink my coffee to wake up. Although
Okay,
it's
sir.
better than yesterday's time.
Okay.
Yesterday was 3 a.m. my time. So today I'm starting at 7 a.m. So which is good. But I woke up much earlier. So I take my coffee to get into the group of things.
Okay, sir.
So while you're at it, maybe what we'll try to do, what I've done in other groups, is to have somebody serve as a team lead for the class, for this class. So, and then you form yourselves what do you call it, a WhatsApp group, so that the things that are sent out, I will include the office and the coordinator on the WhatsApp group and share that information with you guys directly, especially since sometimes because of the schedule, I may be in flight. And so because I'm in flight, I may not be able to um, uh, do lectures, but I can send lecture notes ahead of time so that
Okay,
you
sir.
can review within the period. So,
Sir.
okay. If you're not able to reach him,
I've already talked to him. I don't know why he's supposed to be online by now. I think we can continue,
okay.
sir.
All right, that's fine. You've done great. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. So today we'll be looking at um let me share my screen and put up
Okay, sir.
this thing, yes. The screen. Do you see my screen? Measurement of an evaluation in social work. The DSW 942.
Yes, sir.
Is that the right class for you guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. So our lecture today, I will look at the course outline. I put them in PowerPoint and things, and then after that, then we'll go straight into module 1. We may be able to accomplish quite a bit today and do all of module 1 because I have them in 5 modules. And then after that, I'll see what the school has, the plans the school has for this class. So I will talk separately with the coordinator to ensure that I am in line with what the expectations are.
Okay.
So that's so the course is measurement and evaluation in social work at DSW 942. So let me put it in PowerPoint so that you can see. I hope that those of you who are using your phones will be able to see that. Let me move it
Yes,
to
sir.
where you can see it.
Okay.
See it where. Let me switch my screen.
Okay.
All right, so you can see my screen PowerPoint now. So I'll go on to the next slide. That's the course outline. But before I go into the course outline, I would like to look at the first component of the outline, which is the course objective.
Okay.
For this course, it is hoped that I always use the term hope because it is your place to analyze and see how this meets. So my hope is that participants in this class will understand the purpose of measurement and evaluation in social work practice. There are specific areas that you need to look at when it comes to social work practice. There's difference between just measurement and evaluation of a specific project or a specific activity. But this one, you're looking at a practice which encompasses both project activities and everything, So so you need to understand what it means when it comes to social work. And then you learn methods of assessing the effectiveness of an intervention or interventions in programs. Because in social work, you're looking at different programs and different sectors. And then you gain skills in applying quantitative and qualitative techniques for data collection and analysis. And finally, explore program evaluation frameworks and outcome measurements tools, because you do need to have the tools to be able to remain in compliance or remain in have a systematic approach, which will be the same all the time, as opposed to just picking up off the air and doing something, and then it would not be the same next time when you want to do it. So the course outline continues. We'll have course modules. And module 1 would be introduction to measurement and evaluation, because we want to start afresh to just be sure that you all know and see what it is. So we assume that we are coming with a plain mind that has not gotten through this before. So you're going to be looking at definitions and importance of measurements and evaluations in social work, as well as ethical considerations and challenges in measurement. Hopefully, we'll complete the aspect of the definition and importance of measurement and evaluation in very broad. So I'll see how we can get through it today, and then follow up with ethical considerations, and then do all of module 2 and things in the next class. Module 2, we're looking at quantitative methods. In other words, we're looking at overview of quantitative techniques in social work, using test scores, attendance rates, and surveys to measure outcomes. And then you look at the analysis of that. It's tools you use for analyzing the results that you get, And then you have module 3, which will now be the qualitative part, because you've done quantitative, then you look at the qualitative part. In qualitative, you want to understand the narrative, data, and its significance. Because here you're not using a tool to collect it. You're more looking at focus groups and things and so on to be able to determine, to get your information and things. Then you also we're looking at client testimonials, focus group and interviews as tools for finding out. Then we will talk about analyzing qualitative data for actionable insights. Then module 4 will look at program evaluation, the framework for program evaluation, the components of a program evaluation framework, because those components will help you determine how you go about it and understand it better. So you look at steps in conducting program evaluation, and then look at case studies or effective program evaluation in social work. And then you look at module 5, it would be outcome measurement tools, identifying and selecting appropriate outcome measurement tools, integrating tools into social work practice, interpreting results to improve interventions and client well-being. And this are the areas we'll look at. However, there also is the assessment and evaluation. And I highlighted this section because it will be dependent on the school. So I would be having a discussion with the coordinator and the team members on how we process this. Assessment and evaluation, group discussions on real world case study, practical exercise using quantitative and qualitative methods, final projects, development, and comprehensive evaluation plan for a social work program. Then you have, I'll be sharing additional resources that you can read on your own. Will determine what are the recommended readings on measurement and evaluation techniques, and you can also find this out on your own. You know, what access to software tools for quantitative analysis, and then also guidance on ethical practice and data collections. I will find this out. I will list out the documents and things for you or to review. So that's the course outline. Do I have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have a good bandwidth? Is everybody hearing? So is my video affecting you? I will turn off the video now, and so that it doesn't affect your bandwidth over time, because that's what happens. When I start a class, usually I like to put a video on so people can see and know who is talking to them. Not that I change, of course. Yeah. So did Daniel come on?
David.
Oh, David, sorry. Did he come on?
No, sir.
Okay.
That's not during the class.
Okay. Participation in class would be also something that will determine scores, and it would be nice to have full participation so that people can get the right scores they require. So,
yes, sir.
So let's look at the first module. We're going to be looking at definition and importance of measurement and evaluation in social work. Discuss general introduction, definition of measurement in social work, and then we'll look at key characteristics of good measurement. Then we go on to the other side, which is definition of evaluation in social work, forms of evaluation, formative evaluation, summative evaluation, process evaluation, and outcome evaluation. These are all things that you use, and they're generally terms in every aspect of project and even in life. However, we're going to look at it as it relates to social work. Did somebody try to say something? So I will be talking, I may be talking fast, but please, if you have shorthand and things that you can use to identify something. David Akonde says, good afternoon. So David, you're on now, I guess. You can unmute and say yes. So we see you. But let me see.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right, you're welcome. So I just want to put up the participants and see. So okay, I can see participants as I talk and go on.
Oh,
and
okay,
let me do a snapshot of the list of participants. So I can use that to prepare to keep my file for the class.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. All right. So now we're looking at definitions and importance of measurement and evaluation in social work.
Okay.
And the importance of this is that it gives you an understanding of the foundation for effective practice and social work change. So if you need to change something, your effective practice and how to change that practice based on what you're doing, because they're a continuous process. But let's look at first introducing the idea first. You know, so general introduction from notes I have is, please, if you are not talking, can you mute so that you don't interfere? Please mute yourself. So social work is a profession dedicated, you know, yeah. Social work is a profession dedicated to supporting individuals, families, and communities towards well-being and social justice. I know you have this definition in every class you go to. You may have it or have a different form of it and things, but that's a general definition and relies heavily on concepts of measurement and evaluation. Now you're limiting it to the content of the course that we are going to start. So you look at the general definition. It's a profession dedicated to supporting individuals, families, and communities towards well-being and social justice. Now, if you're not defining the importance, you now know that it relies heavily on concepts of measurement and evaluation. Measurement and evaluation are two pillars that are fundamental not only for assessing the effectiveness of interventions and programs, but also for ensuring accountability and continuous improvement in practice. So in other words, it gives you the mirror to look at yourself and say, are you doing the right thing? Are you accountable to the people that are the beneficiaries? And do you have the ability to see that things are not going well and modify it or change directions or change strategy and things? So through the lens of measurement and evaluation, social workers are able to transform abstract goals into tangible outcomes, guiding their actions with evidence and keyword empathy. Because you're dealing with human beings, you're dealing with people with emotions, you're dealing with people with feelings, and therefore, while you're going for evidence, it must be in line with empathy as well. So that's the general definition or introduction to importance of measurement and evaluation in social work. Now, when we say measurement, how do we define measurement in social work? Measurement in social work refers to a systematic process of assigning numbers or labels to specific attributes, behaviors, or outcomes in a way that accurately reflects the underlying reality. Keywords here. Refers to systematic process. It's a process. It's not a fixed thing. It's a process of assigning numbers because you need to use numbers, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, numbers to be able to assign, to determine specific attributes, behaviors, or outcome in a way that accurately reflects the underlying reality that you have. It involves the development and use of standardized tools and instruments. So you don't just create anything out of it. You have to design it first before you apply the tools to the measurement. So such tools could include surveys, scales. When I say scales, scales are kind of numbers you assign to provide a level of weight, what would weigh more and what will weigh less in your decision making. Checklist is a kind of thing that provides you guidance on the process, what you do first, what you do as you go along. You do 1, you do 2, you do 3, you do 4. That's a checklist. And then observational protocols. How do you observe? If you're going to observe, what would you be looking for? So you have to note those all ahead of time. To quantify variables relevant to social work practice. So if you want to quantify it, especially when there are quantitative measurements that you're going to do, these tools will help you quantify them relevant to social work. We'll quantify them in the various variables that you have identified, measuring indicators that you have identified. For example, a social worker might use standardized depression inventory to gauge clients' symptoms before and after intervention. So if you feel that somebody is depressed, how do you come up with the fact that that person is depressed? You need to have had, some checklist, and that checklist will tell you what to look out for. If you see this, then check for this. If you see this, then check for this. If you see this, then check for this. And by the time you check and all of them, you have check, all of them, then you can conclude that, yes, based on the variables and things, we can comfortably draw the conclusion that this person has depression and things. So that's how it helps. So examples, social worker might use standardized depression inventory to gauge a client's symptoms before and after intervention. Measurement can also extend to broader constructs, such as family functioning, social support, self-esteem, or quality of life. In all cases, the aim is to collect reliable and valid data that paints a clear picture of the client's situation or the impact of a program. You see how important the measurement and evaluations are, first measurement, because you have to define those things that you need to measure to be able to paint a clear picture of the situation or the program. So, what are the key characteristics of a good measurement? You have reliability as one. And for it to be reliable, it has to be there has to be consistency of measurement of the tool that you use. So the tool you use for A has to be consistent with that you use for B. It has to also have the ability to yield the same results across different occasions and observations. So that tool must be consistent in its ability to yield the same results across different occasions and observers, because you're using the same measure, the same understanding, the same kind of data to collect the variables. It should be valid. So the validity of the measurement is another characteristic. The extent to which a tool measures what it claims to measure, capturing the essence of the construct in question. You cannot develop a tool to measure one thing and then it goes and measures something else. No. So then it's not a valid tool. The measurement is not a good one. It should also be sensitive. The ability to detect small but meaningful changes in the measured variable. So if there are very slight changes, then your tool should be able to determine and capture it. So it's like a thermometer. If you want to know temperature, your thermometer is calibrated to identify the slightest change in temperature, and it reads it right away. So your tool should be like a thermometer that it's able to detect the small but meaningful changes in the measured variable. Practicality. It has to be practical. The ease with which a tool can be implemented in real-world social work setting, practicality means it is practical for you to use it to measure what you want to measure. And it has to consider timing, the time, and the resource, and the cultural factors. So practicality means the ease with which a tool can be implemented in real-world social work setting, considering time, resource, and cultural factors. Because when you go to a community to go and take measurements and things, they don't have all day to sit with you and talk. Therefore, your tool must be practical, able to get the information you need in a short time where you have their attention, because people's attention span Change it depends on the pressure or the stress and things that way. And as a social worker, if you want to collect data and things, you must do it at a time when people have at least enough time to spend for you to get the data, get the right information based on the tool you have. And the tool must not be so long that people will give up and be looking at their watch without telling you that they need to go. And you also need to look at the resource available to you. And most of all, the cultural factors within that community or within that environment that you are collecting the data. Do we have any questions? If there are no questions, then I go on to the next one, definition of social work. So how do you define evaluation in social work? Evaluation as a word, as a process, as a thing, it closely links to measurement, and that's why it goes together. Measurement and evaluation. It is the systematic assessment of the design, implementation, and outcome of a program interventions or services with the purpose of determining their effectiveness and informing future practice. So when you have a project or you're setting up there, it is important to know that the evaluation aspect of it is not just for evaluation purposes. The evaluation is to determine effectiveness and also to inform future practice. Because when you want to do something, you want to find out, has somebody done it before? What were the pitfalls? What were the challenges? And then you now use that to determine how you do your next. So, but the important thing again is that it is a process. It is the systematic assessment of the design. So evaluation starts from the design. Sometimes we do project, we set up project, you put that we're going to do this, and then when we end, we say, okay, let's evaluate what we did. Well, no. Part of evaluation starts from the beginning as you set your objective. Because those objectives are going to be what you'll be measured with at the end of the project. So it's a systematic assessment of the design, then the implementation, and then outcome of programs, interventions, or services with the purpose of determining their effectiveness and informing future practice. Evaluation involves the deliberate collection and analysis of information to make judgments about value, merit, or worth. In your class over time, you do continuous assessment tests. Those are levels of measurement to see if you are going through the right direction. And then you write your exams at the end of the semester to see. It provides ability. That exam is a way of judging and then providing the merits and determining if you're worth going to the next class. You see how I kind of put it in line so that when you're doing your programs, you know that those are the kinds of things you look at. Well, in social work, evaluation can take several forms. It can take several forms. And the forms include formative evaluation. Look at that word, formative evaluation. This is conducted during the development of early implementation of a program to provide feedback and improve effectiveness. So that's when you're starting your program. You also have to begin to think about evaluating it at that point in time to be sure that where you're going to. Like I said, where you develop objective. Is that objective ideal that you develop? What would that objective measure? Then there is a summative evaluation. It's performed at the end of the program to assess its overall impact and outcomes. If you say we want to change behavior in a class of 50 people, well, what is the original behavior and why? How do you want to change it? If your goal is to change behavior, just example. So you need to identify the specific objectives that you would go through to change that behavior and see how that process will link to eventually changing behavior. So you cannot evaluate that by just saying we train the number of people on aspects of behavior change, and then by the end of the day, we administered a post-test and we saw that their behavior has said, no, that is not outcome. That is output. Outcome is that you look at months, years down the line, has that behavior manifested itself in the way they do things? And what are those things that you saw that changed to justify that behavior actually changed? Those are outcomes. So then you have process evaluation, focuses on how programs are delivered, examine whether it is being implemented as intended. As you continue to implement, you are evaluating as you go on. Sometimes people call it monitoring. Monitoring is to see if it's going right. Evaluation is to see if it will link up with the next stage of the implementation. And then outcome evaluation concentrates on the changes resulting from a program such as improvement in clients' well-being or reduction in community risk factors. Are we following?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to hear some confirmation from people. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, sir. We are with you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. You know, this one that we're doing, we don't see people, so you don't want to look like you're talking to a wall. You want to be sure you're talking to people, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
So, now what's the importance of measurement and evaluation in social work? And these are very basic. These are very basic. The first one is that it enhances accountability and transparency. When you're dealing with people want to trust you. And if you're getting money for people to do something, you want to be trusted that you are accountable not only to the people that provided you money, but also to the community that is receiving the changes or the programs that you implemented. So accountability is very essential. Transparency means that everybody sees that you are doing it right and well, and there is no hanky-panky.
Okay.
But measurement and evaluation builds a cultural accountability, ensuring that social workers and agencies are transparent about their goals, actions, and results. In an era of limited resources and growing public scrutiny, stakeholders, including clients, funders, policymakers, and their broader community, demand evidence that interventions are effective and resources are used wisely.
Okay.
By rigorously measuring and evaluating outcomes, social workers demonstrate their commitment to ethical responsibility and stewardship.
Okay.
So, for example, we know people who have gone out to do data collection in a community.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And they go sit down under a tree in a shed inside the community, and they pick out the thing and they start filling it out on their own without really talking to the people who are assessing and things and so on. And so what do you get in return? It's data that does not, and you are the only one there.
Mm.
So nobody can see what you, if you talk to people or not, but your document says you talk to people.
Okay.
And then when you collect it and you do analysis, so you're giving a completely wrong impression about the community. And when you plan your program based on that, then your program is not addressing what the community people see as part of their need. And so when it's evaluated, you will see that somebody else may now go to look at impact and say, okay, let me talk to the people and see how things have changed. And when they speak to the people, they realize that, the data we got from so and so is completely out of place because what these people are saying was not captured in the data. So how can we be measuring something that was not real? So that's accountability and transparency. It has to be. Improving practice and outcome. That's very important. Social work is ever-evolving field. It's an ever-evolving field, shaped by new research, social trends, and the unique challenges of diverse populations. Measurement and evaluation provides the data necessary to reflect critically on practice, identify areas of improvement or areas for improvement, and adapt interventions to better meet client need. We can do this through ongoing evaluation. Social workers can move beyond anecdotal evidence, learning from both success and shortcoming to continuously refining their approach. Anecdotal evidence is an evidence that is like, this is what I think, or a few people have said. But you want to move beyond that to get the real evidence. As social workers, if you're dealing with people, you don't deal with hearsay. You deal with actual facts.
Okay.
The importance is guiding evidence-based practice. So your practice must be based on an evidence that it has happened and things and their findings. The shift towards evidence-based practice in social work underscores the need for accurate measurement and credible evaluation. Evidence-based practice require integrating the best available research with practitioner expertise and client value. Measurement generates the data, while evaluation interprets those data to determine what works. For when, for whom, and under what circumstance. These dynamics ensures that interventions are grounded in sound evidence rather than intuition or tradition alone. So the key word there is that measurement generates data, while evaluation interprets those data to determine what works. So you see how they work hand in hand. It's very important to note that. The next one is supporting advocacy and policy change. Social workers are often at the forefront of advocacy because you are client advocates. You intercede on behalf of the people, so you know the people very well based on your interactions. So you can advocate for them better than somebody who is sitting in an office somewhere and is not in tune or in line with the people. So social workers often are at the forefront of advocacy, striving to address systematic or systemic injustice and shape policies that promote social well-being, reliable measurement, and rigorous evaluation provides the empirical foundation needed to support advocacy arguments, influence decision-making, and drive policy reforms. Data on program outcomes, community needs, and service gaps equip the social worker with the tools to speak effectively on behalf of marginalized populations. So when you go to government to go and tell them what they need to do, say in schools, You don't go telling them that, oh, or you go to the permanent secretary or the commissioner to tell them what they do. You don't go say, I think we should need this in school. Why do you think that? What's the proof? You don't have it. The commissioner will look at you and say, are you sure you know what you're talking about? So you need to have the necessary data. And that data helps you form yourself into an advocacy tool for the people because you are well equipped with the information that is required to convince somebody to make the change that you require. So you speak on behalf of the people as an advocate. The last one is empowering clients and community. Measurement and evaluation are not just technical processes. They can be empowering tools that give voice to clients and communities. Involving service users in the evaluation process fosters a sense of ownership, agencies, and respect. Participatory evaluation approaches ensures that diverse perspectives are heard and that programs are responsive to the real needs and aspirations of those that they are meant to serve. For example, you go to a hospital and you need to make changes in that hospital. You need to not make changes. You need to suggest changes to the medical director of the hospital or to the commissioner for health. Or you go to a school and you need to make changes. You need to suggest what changes should happen because you've identified several things in the school. And you need to talk to the principal or to the commissioner for education and things. So what do you don't just go, like I said earlier, to go and start discussing with the principal on things and so on. You need to do your appropriate due diligence, collecting data to support your and because when you collect data, for example, in a hospital, you can do mystery clients. You can go yourself as a sick person. Or you get somebody to pretend that they're sick and they go to the hospital. That person is going to find out how the nurses treat him or her,
Okay.
what they prescribe. So from getting card to being to taking history by the nurses. So the administrative person giving you card, how is he behaving? What are the procedures? Does he have the right temperament?
Yeah.
And then to the nurses that you go to take your history and ask you, why do you come to the hospital? Are they rude? Do they consider something if they test you and they don't see anything and so on? Are they say, why you come? You don't even have anything. Well, do they say, did you see that? Or how do they know all of that and so on? You note all of that. And then when you now go to the doctor, does the doctor take a time to review and talk and decide and things and so on? And then if they prescribe medication, is the medication in the hospital, pharmacy? And how is it, what are the cost implications? How is it sold? Or does the pharmacy tell you, oh, we don't have this medicine, but go to this pharmacy shop outside the hospital and you will get it? And what is the price there? If it's in the hospital, what's the price? If it's in the pharmacy shop outside, what is the price? And then is the pharmacy, somebody will also find out, is that pharmacy shop owned by the pharmacist in the hospital?
Okay.
And things. So those are mystery shopper. You are getting all this information because you want to come back and use it. And then you now talk to other clients who have gone there. And as they come out, you ask them questions. You did a mystery shopper, but you also then go and see 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. You can choose 10 random clients and ask them questions to triage the information from the mystery shopper who is a known person using himself as a guinea pig, and others who are not known. You take a range from the person perceived to be the poorest and less educated to the most educated who has come there. So when they come out, you ask them questions and so on, you document, asking that range, mid-educated, most educated, you come and sit down, and then you triad how are the responses from this hospital. Based on that response, you can then provide you can weight. Remember, I talked about weighting system in data collection. You can weight the data that you've collected to provide scores. And those scores will now determine what the overall, based on previous things, on evidence that others have done, provide a score on the performance of that hospital. And with that too, you can then go on to recommend to the medical director of the hospital. This is what we found about your hospital. A medical director may get angry and say, well, how do you know? We do our best and so on and so forth. Well, you also make your note because you are an advocate of the people, of the clients, and you have seen that clients in this place are not being treated well. But you also find out from the hospital, the doctors, how is their practice? You don't find out why are they not treating patients well. That would be wrong. You want to come to them and say, how is it practicing medicine, treating people in this community? The doctor may be stressed because he's overloaded. He's the only one in the place. He's the medical director. He's also the hospital clinician in treating everybody. He's also the person in charge of facility in the place to be sure. When fan or there's no light, he's the one that determines what you get for diesel. And so all of that is being dragged and stressed. And then he's not paid well. His family cannot be in that community because there's no school for him to send his children to, or the kind of school he wants to send his children to. So his children and his wife may be in another community, and he has to shuttle from there every morning, or he has to go weekends to go and stay there. And then when there's emergency, there's nobody. So all those things are things that you collect to try to make a point and advocate. So when you advocate, you also take into consideration the feeling, you have empathy on the medical providers, the nurses, and so on. Maybe the nurses, there are no nurses. What they have is choose. So all these things help you. So you don't go and say, I'm advocating for the patient without realizing that that person that you are, the doctor that you are talking to about are also suffering their own unique issues. So ability to decipher that as a social worker, to be a true advocate, you have to understand all the systems that are happening there and then know how to present them empathically. We have any questions?
No, sir.
So the next one, we're looking at examples of measurement and evaluation in social work. Sorry. Examples of measurement and evaluation in social work. So, first example, individual assessment. Using validated scales to monitor a client's progress towards personal goals, such as reducing anxiety and improving parenting skills. Right from when a baby is born, there are challenges as a parent. Some are challenges as a result of lack of finances or inadequate finances. Challenges because maybe the husband did not want that child because he says he doesn't have enough funds. He wanted to win. Or it was a mistake. And so that presents additional challenges in the family. And then also postpartum depression, high risk. High risk. So how do you manage that? So you have to assess. So you have to first assess the situation to know how to support those things. So individual assessment using validated scales. So you have to know, remember in the previous things when I talked about examples of, not examples of, I talked about identify when you go to the hospital, identifying when you're talking to mystery shopper as well as people who are coming out of the hospital, how you then weight it and use a scale to be able to allocate levels on it. So individual using the same thing, using validated scales that have been validated, to monitor the client's progress towards personal goals. In other words, the client would have had set goals that you work with them, such as reducing anxiety, improving parental skills. The next is program evaluation. Assessing a youth mentoring program's effectiveness, that's an example, by measuring participants' academic performance, social skills, and self-confidence over time. That's one aspect of self-confidence is something that is very limited, I would say, but I didn't do any studies of this, but just based on anecdotal evidence, when we're interacting in Nigeria in those days. I give you one of self-confidence. You're applying for a job. They post a job, you're applying for a job as an admin officer. You write to the permanent secretary. Dear permanent secretary, sir, I beg to apply for this job. Why do you have to beg to apply? If you have self-confidence, you won't be begging to apply. Exactly. So it's like you are appealing to that man's emotion to say, oh, please, give me this job. But if you bring out your qualifications that make you
qualified.
Exactly. So instead of begging to apply, you say, I am excited to apply to this position. My excitement stems from the fact that the job description clearly describes my experience in the field of work. So somebody reads that, is like, this person. So you see the difference with confidence, self-confidence. I beg to apply, and I'm excited to apply for this position, but your excitement must be related to something. And it's like, my excitement is as a result of the job description, which I see fits clearly with my experience. And then you go on to explain or talk about your experience, how your experience has made you suitable for this position. And you'll be happy to discuss with them to go more into your experience and how your experience has helped you achieve things in other areas and how you can bring that to improve on the organization. That's self-confidence. So right there and then, tell your children and everybody, don't beg to apply. You are a Nigerian. Nigerians have confidence, irrespective of where they are.
Okay.
So you must, but before you have confidence, you must have the experience. Okay. So that when somebody takes you on, they will say, you're just shooting breeze. All this one, you were shooting breeze that you have confidence and things and so on. Yeah, you don't have you are not able to deliver the goods. So you must know yourself. Your self-confidence based on understanding yourself and knowing that you can deliver something. Okay. The next is community needs assessment. Example, systematically collecting data on the prevalence of homelessness in a city to inform the development of a new housing service. For example, if you go, this is mainly out here in the West, where people are doing continuous data collection and they're looking at continuous ways of improving things and so on. And so you go to a community, you go to the community, you look at how people are living and what the way the housing is and so on and so forth. I can decide, then make a study, do a study from the community to determine what best it is, how they can live and expand and achieve something that would benefit the community or the state. So you go to the government and talk about setting up a new housing scheme, the housing structure and thing that would improve sanitation and would improve raising children, and that would eventually improve the labor force and also the rent and therefore the income generating approaches of the state itself. And because when people live better, they do better, they have ideas, they expand on their resources. And what happens? Their resources are taxed, so it increases the tax base of the community. More people will come into the community with ideas to even expand more, and the government will do more in gaining taxes. So your ability to relate that all the time. So it's not just what is good for the community, but how what is good for the community will help the government.
Okay.
You see, you should always have that in mind, how you relate that. Because if you go to government and be talking about what is good for the community, you need to do this. The government will say about this community, always doing things for them. But when you relate that with the government, they say, okay, yeah, we could do that. So the government sees it differently. So your ability to identify community needs and then present it to the government in a way that the government will benefit from that would be a good thing. Quality assurance. Presenting client satisfaction surveys and reviewing service delivery processes to ensure adherence to best practice and standard. It's always good to look at quality, and it is something that is ongoing. And how do you take a hospital? How do you ensure that the clients are satisfied with the quality? First, you have to develop the assessment tool that you can be applying every time to see if the quality still remains. That assessment tool could include how the patient was received, how long did the patient stay in the hospital before he saw the doctor, how he was moved from one place to the lab. Was the lab close to the consulting room so the patient didn't have to travel far? Or did he have to go out to go into town to a lab to get things and then come back to to come and see the doctor? And in the lab, were there so many people that it took time? By the time she came back, the doctor had closed. So all of that will help you determine how the service being provided is tip-top quality and what you can do to improve it if it is not.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Wow.
The last part I want to touch on today would be challenges and considerations. Challenges and considerations. In measurement and evaluation, you need to look at cultural relevance. In other words, before you go and bring a tool from somewhere to come and assess a group, Let me give you a clear example. Before you go out, you take a tool from the south of Nigeria to go to the north to go and assess. When you there's clear disparities in both way of life and religious and spiritual approaches to things, you have a problem. So a standardized tool may not always capture the experience of diverse populations. So a social worker must adapt or develop culturally sensitive measures. So if you take a tool that is standard tool, the first thing you do is to review it along the area, the cultural perspectives of the population you want to go and assess, to be sure that it applies. So you must know the way of life and things. And so you look at the tool and say, ah, no, this aspect may not be ideal for this one. And then when you adapt it to be ideal, you have to pre-test it. After pre-testing, you come back and review your adaptation to see if there are any other things you need to pre-test. Then you make the changes, and then you go back and pre-test. And that is perfecting the tool for that community. Now, when you finish that second pre-test, that's most likely it. Then you can now develop the tool to be able to apply it to that community. Ethical considerations. Collecting and using data requires careful attention to privacy, which is something that we have challenges with in Nigeria. Privacy, confidentiality, and informed content. So you cannot, let me give you a clear example. You talk to somebody as you're taking notes, your colleague takes a picture of you interviewing a community person. And you finish, you write your report, and you put that picture of the community person and you in the, or you take a picture of that community person alone and you put it in the place. Well, did that person give you authorization to use the picture? Because in the community, everybody likes to see camera focusing on them. And they smile, the things and so on, but they don't know where that camera is going. They don't know where that picture is going. And the people who have taken the picture and things move away, they write great reports and they talk to story about the picture and they go off. The community man is sitting there not knowing how far his picture or her picture has gone and what they're using it for and things.
Wow.
So it's important to get what the document called informed consent.
Okay.
And you must tell the person, hey, we are going to have this discussion. I will take a picture of you, and this picture, we will put it in our report. You can say yes or you can say no. If you say no, we won't use it. We won't put it. We won't take the picture. But if you say yes, please, to be sure that you say yes, sign this document. If you cannot sign, use a thumbprint and print on it. And so you must carry ink and pen. If the person cannot speak, somebody must be there to translate it to the person understanding.
Okay.
And the person agrees and thumbprints, and then if it was translated, the person who translated it to the person must sign.
Okay.
And then you now put it in your file.
Okay.
Now, you must also credit the person who took the picture. So if your colleague took the picture of that, you must note it at when you're putting your report and you put the picture there, you will say picture taken by Iyeme Omoge. Okay. Just an example. So you put that picture there, and then the person records it. And so when you are talking and presenting your report and you put that picture, you must state the people, that this picture was taken by my colleague Iyeme, and we used it, and we got informed consent from the participant before, or from the client before we put this there. So that's ethical considerations. Challenges include limitations, resource limitations. A rigorous evaluation can be resource intensive. Social workers often need to balance the ideal with what is practical and feasible. So you want to evaluate something and you want to show, first, you need to know for every indicator that you want to collect information on, there is a cost implication. The cost implication includes not only in the time you're going to invest in that indicator, but also the population, the number of data that you will collect for that indicator to make it meaningful. And also the distance and things you have to cover to collect that indicator to support the results that you're going to get. So when you get 50 indicators, you can imagine how much it will cost you. And then you ask yourself, 50 indicators, would it give you the results of everything? Why would you collect 50 indicators for just one aspect of behavioral thing? So you need to ask yourself,
Okay.
so which is ideal? What is practical? Maybe instead of 50 indicators, 10 indicators will help reveal something, because you don't want to be the only one conducting research for everything of every part of that aspect. Because no matter how much you collect that indicator, no matter how much you conduct that research, your results will not be confirmation. Your results can only read one thing. These are your findings and things and so on. And your conclusion after everything is that more research is needed to further elucidate this. Why would you then want to do something that is complete? It's not possible to complete it because more research would always be needed. Somebody else need to take it up from where you stopped, because you're contributing to learning does not mean that's the end of learning. So you collect something that one will be within your resource base, also within your scope in terms of area, also within your scope in terms of size of your sample size of your sample, to make it more reasonable and acceptable for people to say, I like the results I got from this, or this person got from this thing, but why don't we expand it to other areas? And they will quote you. They reference your reports, your publication, and things in there. The complexity of human behavior, it is the biggest complexity of human behavior. Human lives are complex and dynamic, making it challenging to isolate the effects of specific interventions or attribute outcomes to a particular program. Because human behavior changes like the weather. It depends on what time of the day you meet the person. There are some people, you meet them in the morning, they say, good morning. Say, what's good about the morning? Others you meet, they say, good morning. Say, yeah, I claim the morning to be a great day. That person wakes up with exuberance and things. And that's he lives the life that go on to. Some people in the evening you want to go and talk to, especially because in the communities, that's when you want to collect data, in the evenings, when people have come back and they are relaxing. If you go to the community round table where men sit down under the tree and think maybe they are drinking palm wine and they are fully relaxed and things, their behavior will be different. And their behavior will inform what they say. Especially if they have taken a bit more energizer that will make them very boisterous. So you have to determine all that and know that this behavior and things changes will give me a different reading, different set of data from this other behavior, and being able to manage that makes you a good, or makes your program very good, and makes you a good observer, evaluator, and a monitor of your, or a measure of your program and things. So in a nutshell, I'd like to conclude this first module by saying measurement and evaluation are foundation to the integrity, effectiveness, and evolution of social work practice. They transform passion and good intentions into informed action, bridging the gap between aspiration and achievement. By systematically gathering and interpreting data, social workers not only provide the value to their effort, but also discover a new way or new ways to serve, advocate, and empower their clients, the community, and the country. In a rapidly changing world, the capacity to measure and evaluate is not just a technical skill. It is a moral imperative. Through diligent measurement and thoughtful evaluation, social workers honor the trusts placed in them, advance the field, and most importantly, help individuals and communities flourish. May God bless this exercise today. Amen.
Amen.
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your time and the clarification of this. Wow.
So,
thank you so much, sir. We appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the fantastic conclusion.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Sir, can we have this PowerPoint,
we are
sir?
all grateful, sir.
Yes, you will have the PowerPoint, and
Thank you,
the
sir.
notes that I made, you will have them
Okay.
as we go through. Now, when I can't present, I would also send the PowerPoint and the notes to you all,
Okay.
so that you can have, and then you can try it, especially when I'm traveling. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Are they here?
Sir,
Dadani.
Dadani, Alafia. Apart from the PowerPoint, from our experience during our diet that you participated, we would like you to post material if possible, sir, if it's within your capacity.
Say it again. Which diet that was? Was it in
your particular measurements and
evaluation?
Yeah.
We want you to give us materials like this concluded diet workshop and seminar. That is social work practitioner in Nigeria.
Well, I mean, it's breaking out for me, so I can't hear everything. But like I said, I will share my.
Apart from PowerPoint, we have material.
Yes. Well, I mean, I will give you. I will send out appropriate reading materials, like I noted in my this thing when I was talking about the. Let me pull it up. When I was talking about this thing, this is what I noted. When I was talking about a course outline, I said additional resources, recommended reading on measurement and evaluation techniques, access to software, tools for quantitative analysis, guidance on ethical practices, and data. I said I was going to share that. I was going to give you people some recommended reading, and I said it is good to also search yourself, search places yourself, and so on, to get those ones. But I will put some either articles and things. I will name some software. I can't give you software, but I can give you examples of softwares that you can look at. I don't know how much you would need at this stage because you're not conducting the thing, but you would need to know the software that could be used and why some of them should be used for certain types of results. Yes, so that's okay.
Where find your photo? Oh, I don't see take my photo.
Are you talking about this?
You should take us buy food. So taking eating Gary. Where find first today?
Obolaji Kilewi. Are you talking to me? Or you see, you should have muted. You see? It's always good to mute. Because remember, this is being recorded. So whatever you say is recorded as well. So, so if you're not talking to the mute before you go and say something that they'll be like, eh?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
We love
Thank
your
you
lecture.
all. Thank you.
We love your lecture.
I appreciate that too. Thank you very much.
Always detail on the edge.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we are
Thank
grateful,
you. I
sir.
appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right.
Sir.
So
thank you, sir.
let me go and renew my coffee cup to start the day.
Okay.
You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.
Take care, sir.
Bye.
Take care of yourself. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers, man.
Yes,
and thank you to the class, to the IT for giving us the opportunity to have this lecture. It's always great. Yeah.